It was a very disappointing weekend for me as a Chelsea fan, and I know a lot of you out there actually felt the same way after Chelsea lost to Sunderland at Stamford Bridge by 2 goals to 1. It became even more disappointing, knowing fully well that Manchester United that started the season struggling. When I take a look at the EPL standing, I saw Manchester United currently sitting sixth on the Premier League standing. The pains even became more severe and worse when I take a look at the EPL standing and saw that Aston Villa that started the season struggling went 5 matches straight without a win, currently are ahead of Chelsea on the Premier League standing. That's the extent of disappointment I felt after the weekend game. Over the weekend, we have some wins and losses in that particular encounter. And the biggest win over the weekend happened to be Arsenal Football Club. Because after round 9 of the EPL matches, Arsenal was the biggest winner. As teams that were seen as a fellow title contender all lose out over the weekend. But Arsenal, to show that potential of being a champion in them, despite facing a very tough opponent in Crystal Palace, went on to defeat Crystal Palace by a lone goal, courtesy of Eberechi's goal against his own former side. And that is the spirit. If you are fighting for something, if you want to be crowned a winner, if you want to be called a champion, that is the mentality that Arsenal currently is having as a team. So Chelsea lost over the weekend against Sunderland have actually sparked lots of reaction, even from some of the legendary footballers who have actually kicked the round leader game in the English Premier League. But first, we're going to take a look at the reaction of Enzo Maresca from his post-match conference, because Enzo Maresca was asked some questions and he actually asked responses to those questions. We'll also take a look at what Marc Cucurella actually said after that particular game. And also, we'll take a look at what John Terry and Gary Neville, both legends of Chelsea and Manchester United, what they say after that particular game. Lots of reaction actually trailed that Chelsea lost at Stamford Bridge to Sunderland. And also, we'll switch gear to the Spanish La Liga and take a look at the reaction that actually stole the spotlight of the El Clasico, talking about the reaction of none other than Vinny Jr., who actually reacted when he was substituted out from that particular encounter. So let's dive into it and take a look at some of the reactions that actually sparked the game after Chelsea lost to Sunderland. Enzo Maresca in his post-match conference was asked, Enzo Maresca on playing well against Liverpool but not versus Sunderland. And here is what Enzo Maresca said. For sure, if you want to be there, you need consistency on something. Winning 4 in a row can show that. But today, when we lost point, we didn't show that. If we can have this level and that level, we need something in between. But I think overall, since we started, we performed much better than compared to today's game. Winning 4 matches in a row is not consistency, Enzo Maresca. It is not. You actually come back from your worst form, talking about not winning in 4 matches. You drew with Brentford 2-2, lost to Bayern Munich, lost to Manchester United, and lost to Brighton and Hove Albion. You came back to winning ways. That was just what you did. You came back to winning ways against Benfica. You came back to winning ways against Liverpool, against Nottingham Forest. You don't call that consistency. Chelsea have not been consistent this season. All we have seen has been inconsistency with matches that ordinarily we should have just closed it down and get all 3 points, but we struggle. Yes, the win against Liverpool was vital. It was key. It was because of the mentality the players actually put up in that particular game. And we all know that Liverpool, in the other hand, coming into that game, were already beginning to look like a team that are in crisis, having lost 2. Chelsea actually compounded it to become 3 straight losses for Liverpool in a row. So Chelsea currently, there is no consistency in the team. And so Maresca should get that. We have not been consistent this season. Not at all have we been for once. It was nice seeing Chelsea. That feeling was good that we actually went 4 straight wins in a row. But you can't call that consistency. If you want to be consistent, or you have to go 10 matches without a loss continuously in that manner. That is how you know a team that is actually fighting for something. If we continue this way, believe me, seeing top 4 will be very difficult. It will be a very tough fight if we continue this way. If winning 4 matches and you end up losing another and you call that consistency, it is not. So Enzo Maresca should get that straight. Chelsea this season have been inconsistent when it comes to how we have played so far this season. And Enzo Maresca went on to say, when asked on creating chances, Enzo Maresca on not creating chances. Here's what Enzo Maresca said. We are not good enough. Lack of creativity. We didn't create a lot apart from the goal probably. We need our players to perform 100%. Even at 1-0, we lost some second balls, and against this team, we need to win them. Actually, in this, he actually said the truth. Chelsea lacked cutting edge in that particular game against Sunderland. And in my match reaction, check that in my previous video, much appreciated, thank you for watching. In my match reaction, I actually said something. I said in that match reaction that we actually lacked the cutting edge. There was no creativity in that team to actually break the defense line of Sunderland. That was actually missing in our game after Alejandro Garnacho's goal, which we actually scored, and that was a very beautiful goal to see after having created that ball from Pedro. But we lack the cutting edge. We lost every second ball when we get to the Sunderland box. We lack that cutting edge. We lack creativity. Let it not be because we are missing Cole Palmer or Cole Palmer is out injured. We are unable to create chance. We are unable to create chances when we get to the final third. It's not supposed to be. We have lots of talented creative players in the squad, but Enzo Maresca is hell-bent in person of Gustavo William. Gustavo William can create something out of nothing. Give that young lad the nod to start. Enzo Maresca, we didn't create lots of chances. And we didn't just create chances, or we didn't just lack that creativity. Even with the little we were able to create, how can we get 16th attempt on goal, 7 shots on target, but only 1 goal scored? You played against a team, you had over 600 passes completed, and your opponent has just over 200 passes, yet you lost that game. In as much as sometimes I don't like sharing all the blames on a manager, but he's the driver on the seat, he's the one that is actually driving the car which the players are in. The players also have to take the share of their blame. And if we look at the manner at which we lost that game, most especially in the second half where Sunderland got their second goal, I think in my opinion, Chalobah and Tosin Adarabioyo should take the blame in that second goal because of their laziness and flat-footed in that particular game. That actually cost Chelsea that second goal. So, matches like this, like Enzo Maresca said, haven't gone 1-0 up. All we just need to do is to lock up the game, close the game down, and your opponent will be nowhere. But we lack that in that particular game. So going forward, Enzo Maresca was also asked. Enzo Maresca on Joao Pedro goal drought and injuries. Here's what Enzo Maresca responded. I think Joao is not training every day because he is managing an injury problem. Moy is the same. Enzo is the same. We have 4 or 5 players that have same problem and cannot work every day. They try to make the effort and play the game. Joao struggled a little bit today, but all of the players did today. So it's not just Joao. First of all, these players are human. I must admit that, and I must say big respect, big ups to Joao Pedro, Moisés Caicedo, and Enzo Fernandez, who have actually taken the club to their hearts, and even in injury, they are actually playing. But then, any player who is not fully fit in a game, put the players aside. Give the players, let them be on the treatment table. It's better for the players to be fully fit than use the players in a game when they are not fit. You are actually creating more problems for the players. There's no point managing the situation. If you know that the players are not fit and they cannot give in their best, why use the player? We actually saw that in the case of Enzo Fernandez. Yes, there was this inflammation he had in his knee during the international break that actually made him withdraw from the Argentine national team. Moisés Caicedo, if it is fatigue or anything, or you feel the player is not fit, Moisés Caicedo is one player that Chelsea cannot afford to actually lose to injury at this point in time. Because Moisés Caicedo is one man that actually brought balance to the team. And at this point in time, Moisés Caicedo is needed in every game. Games like this against Sunderland, Moisés Caicedo should even be having a rest. Let other players do the job. Let other players do the job. So if a player is not fit, in my opinion, Enzo Maresca should give them that needed rest. Use the players available to get the job done. One thing I so much believe, I believe so much in this Chelsea squad coming into this season. So much. I had so much belief and confidence in the Chelsea squad. The only place I was actually having doubts coming into this season was the defense line after Levi Cowell sustained ACL injury. That was the only place I have doubts each time I look at the Chelsea squad. So we have a lot of talent in that team. We have a lot of talent. But it's really very shocking. I don't know if any of you have actually noticed it, because that is what a lot of Chelsea fans are clamoring. It's really very shocking that, take aside Enzo Fernandez, Moisés Caicedo, possibly Rhys James and Marc Cucurella, Chelsea are relying on two young players, George Acheampong and Gustavo William, to actually drive our season. And also Cole Palmer, who is out injured. It's shocking. But then, those are the players we have on ground. And Enzo Maresca need to give these players the needed confidence going into the game. And you see them actually deliver. I believe so much in the squad we have. Chelsea have a very good squad going into this season. And I believe Chelsea can actually still get something out. The league is just 9 weeks old after 9 games. And currently, Chelsea are 9th on the Premier League standing. We need to start winning games consistently, on a consistent basis. We need to start winning games. Our next match is against Tottenham Hotspur, and definitely it's going to be tough against Thomas Frank's side, because we are going to the White Hart Lane. We don't need anything short of a win. Else, we'll struggle all through the season. If we don't win that game against Tottenham Hotspur, we'll begin to struggle. That is where the struggle will just be starting from. So, moving forward, Enzo Maresca was asked on that second goal. Enzo Maresca on the winning goal by Sunderland, and here is what he said. It can be an easy situation because we are 2 versus 1. The striker has his back to goal. It can be an easy situation to defend. But in that case, we have to do better. Come out straight and tell the players, this was your error. This was the mistake you made. Trevor Chalobah and Tosin Adarabioyu made a very huge mistake there. 2-1. Take a look at that picture footage there. You can see where Chalobah is standing, distance away from Tosin, who is actually behind the striker, holding the ball, waiting for an assistant to come from his opponent. In fact, it takes 30 seconds to 1 minute for players to arrive. What stopped Chalobah to move forward and actually get that ball? And the both of them would have won that ball from that Sunderland striker. But no, Trevor Chalobah actually stood there all alone, doing nothing. He stood there. The Sunderland striker got the assistance he actually needed from his teammate. The rest is now history. Sunderland got the second goal and defeated Chelsea at Stamford Bridge after 11 years. Because the last time Sunderland got a win at Stamford Bridge was in 2014, April. But over the weekend, they broke that jinx and actually got their win ahead of Chelsea. And currently, Sunderland sit 4th on the EPL standing with 17 points. 5 points behind league leaders Arsenal. One player also was actually talking. Take a look at what Marc Cucurella actually said. Marc Cucurella on Sunderland defeat. It's a really tough one to take. We are all very disappointed, of course. We need to improve with these matches. I think we need to learn to manage the game better. We scored early, dominated at that stage, but then we let the opponents back into it. And I think we need to learn to kill games off when we are on top. Exactly the point I was making earlier. That is one thing Chelsea have actually lacked. And if I look at so far this season, it has happened twice. Against Brentford and now against Sunderland. Once we have taken the lead, we lack the ability to actually kill off game and let the game end that way. And that is just what Marc Cucurella is saying. Marc Cucurella is spot on. One man, whenever he talks, on and off the pitch, Marc Cucurella, is just an exceptional player. And he has just actually spoken the truth. We are really disappointed. The players are disappointed, but then not just feeling disappointed as players. We need to see quick response going into the next game. That is just what we want to see as Chelsea fans. So, big ups to Marc Cucurella, and that was actually spot on. And also, John Terry actually said this when he posted it on his TikTok page. Check this out from JT, the legendary captain. Losing to Sunderland after doing the hard work against Liverpool and Forest I think we are going to get that with a little bit of an inexperienced squad. With the younger group we have, we are going to see that a bit, and that is what is going to cost us not being title contenders at the end of it. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on by John Terry. We have a very young squad, and like I said earlier, how many of you have actually noticed? Take away Enzo Fernandez, Moisés Caicedo. They are all young players anyway. Rhys James, and if possible, Marc Cucurella. As Chelsea fans, what we clamor of today is about Cole Palmer, who is out injured, Gustavo William, and at the defense line, George Achampong. 19-year-old players is what Chelsea is relying on to get the season. It's really mind-blowing. But then, they are the players we have, and absolutely they are doing great. But we need to see more from these players. They are young, quite alright, but they can actually deliver the goods for us, and we hope to see them do that in matches to come. And also, Manchester United legend, talking about Gary Neville, went on to say this on Gary Neville podcast. Chelsea are up and down like a yo-yo. Another club who are inconsistent. I thought they were brilliant against Liverpool, awful against United before that. Look at the money spent on the squad. Is it the players that are being recruited, or have the managers dropped off? I think we are seeing that there was a period of 5 to 6 years ago where we had all the best managers. When Manchester United were struggling, I never heard Gary Neville actually spoke this way. I never did. But then, whatever he said, to some extent, is actually spot on. Another club who are inconsistent, and it's just spot on. Right now, Chelsea are not consistent in games. Week in, week out, we are not consistent. And that is why I said that this message should get to Enzo Maresca. Going 4 straight wins is not consistent. You only came back to winning ways when you have actually went 4 games without a win. And having gotten 4 straight wins, you lost the next one. That's inconsistency. And Gary Neville is actually just spot on there. But then, you should also learn to also talk about Manchester United. When Manchester United was struggling, Gary Neville was nowhere. I didn't hear him, or probably I didn't see his tweet. I didn't see his post. I didn't hear him talk about Manchester United and the struggling Ruben Amorim as at the time. But whenever Chelsea lost a game, Gary Neville, Jimmy Carragher, they'll always have something to say. And that's because we are champion. And when you are a champion, you are a target. And that is just what we are. Chelsea is always a team to watch out for. So, let's switch gear and head over to La Liga. Over the weekend, the El Clasico was played. Real Madrid versus Barcelona in the first El Clasico of the season, as Real Madrid round out Barcelona in a 2-1 victory to actually go top of the La Liga. Now, the El Clasico, in my opinion, watching that game, El Clasico have actually lost its aura. That aura that comes with the game was no longer there. You watch El Clasico, it looks like you are even watching Tottenham Hotspur versus Everton. You watch El Clasico, it doesn't look like the El Clasico of the Galacticos we used to watch. The days of CR7, Xavi Hernandez, Iniesta and co, Messi, Ronaldo. Those days are gone. El Clasico doesn't have that taste it used to have. But it was El Clasico that was played yesterday. And Real Madrid defeated Barcelona by 2-1. Courtesy of goals from Mbappe, who would have actually got an hat-trick if not that he lost the penalty kick that was awarded to Real Madrid. But one man actually stole the spotlight when he was substituted off, talking about Vini Jr. In the course of the game, Vini Jr. was actually substituted out of that game by Xabi Alonso and brought on Rodrigo. But his reaction with his attitude actually came out, stole the show. And when Xabi Alonso was asked in his post-match conference, here's what Xabi Alonso said after that reaction. Xabi Alonso and Vinicius Jr. reactions to the change. Let me focus on the beautiful thing. Good things. We did great and Vini was a big part of it. He did very well. We will talk about this reaction for sure. We will. We will do it in private. Now, I want to focus on good things. Definitely, the manager was spot on. It's not actually good to start reacting of his players' attitude immediately. There is a big thing that actually happened tonight, and that is Xabi Alonso first El Clasico in charge of Real Madrid, and he actually got the win over Barcelona. And it's such a good thing. His response was spot on, and it was actually good to see. And in my opinion, in as much as Vini Jr. reacted in public, then the punishment should be public if the club wants to punish him, because that attitudinal problem, a lot of young stars are actually watching him, and in the near future they might even want to do the same if no punishment is meted on Vini Jr. That attitude was definitely wrong of him. It was definitely wrong of him. There was no sportsmanship attitude in Vini Jr. when his manager actually substituted him. So to Xabi Alonso, there is no point handling the situation privately. Deal with him publicly, because his actions was displayed in the public. And the man in question, talking about Vini Jr., after that particular match, had a word to Madrista, talking about the Madrid fans. Here's what Vini Jr. had to say. I have a message to all Madristas, especially those who came to Bernabeu and supported us passionately. This is how the El Clasico is. There are many things happening on and off the pitch. We try to maintain balance, but that's not always possible. We didn't want to offend anyone, neither the young players nor the fans. We know that when we step onto the pitch, we have to play our role, and that is how it was today. Hala Madrid. Definitely. A lot is always expected from the players whenever they step into the pitch. The fans are actually always expecting to see results. But then, like Vini Jr. said, they actually did their best. And what was their best? They got all 3 points against their arch-rival, talking about Barcelona. So let's end on this note in the Real Madrid young star, talking about the young Brazilian prodigy that is currently in Real Madrid looking for playing time ahead of the World Cup in 2026. And yes, the man in question. Endrick expected to leave Real Madrid on loan in January, with talks already taking place. The Brazilian wants to play more also ahead of World Cup 2026. And Real Madrid are understood to be open to a loan move for Endrick. Interesting. Endrick have been in the news a couple of times, and his requests have always been that he wants game time. He wants game time because he wants to be part of the Brazilian squad for 2026 World Cup. That is a young, passionate footballer. And Real Madrid currently are open to loan Endrick. So we'll be seeing how that will play out in the coming days in the January transfer window, and where Endrick will end up playing his football. So what do you make of all the latest I've brought to you on Chelsea football? And what do you make of Enzo Maresca post-match conference, talking about 5 players not being fit before that particular encounter, and he went on to use them to actually play the game? And also, what do you make of Marc Cucurella's comment that we were actually disappointed and the team need to learn how to kill games? Drop your thoughts down below. Thank you very much for watching, and catch you in my next video.